Hi, welcome to Cosmic and Body Horror. In this channel we discuss content related to Lovecraft horror, Cthulhu mythos and body horror. I upload videos on a daily basis, so before we get started, if I could ask you for a thumbs up at some point during this video if you enjoyed the content, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for your support. Of the Crimeless Traitors. We first find a translation notice by Dr. Judith Lowe, Senior Advisor at the Department of History, Religious Group of Interest Threat Analysis. It reads, originally written in an ancient dialect of the Ameringa language, the excerpt provided above is a translation of a part of a previously unknown, larger body of poems of anonymous hand, detailing the events of the War of the Flesh from the perspective of war victims and prisoners. Despite other Sarkic pieces of literature and tales appearing worldwide, we have found, so far, no evidence of a similar collection existing anywhere else. Reasons for this lack of existence, whether intentional by any parties or not, remain unknown. The poem then reads: 1. In times of old, an age long past, the world was into conflict cast. The war of flesh, as it's now known. On its sides, factions two alone. In one camp, titans tall as sky, their burning answers to deny. Heretic calls the world then held. One leader to his men compelled. Their enemies, those brave with will. Once slaves with fearless faith instilled. That rose from shackles led by one. And four saints that were ruled by none. In chaos, one can hardly find a man that truly kept their mind. But one of Gyro's found his chance. By skill alone he held his stance. Though sealed in cells as dark as night, he got to live a newfound right. 2. The man was young and skilled like few. His voice a rule, his magic true. His warden, rare and pure of soul. Through day and night she would patrol his cell and watch the man within. Her metal frame bereft of skin. Metal plates and gears formed her bones. She'd guard the man in flesh-like robes. They eyed each other through and through. And over time each of their crews. Orders so questioned in the night. How can this be so just and right? For the two were merely recruits. By the war itself made half-brutes. So to oppose what they were told was in their nature brave and bold. When passing time made neither free, the man said, "Run away with me." 3. She raised a brow, was this a plot? But took the hand of who she caught, and with slight fear went where she'd please, to embrace the Nalcan breeze. It was a shock to see so close the men that anger past provoke. And though they varied widely still, they were not men that she could kill. The men within were young and old, and Una like all she'd been told. In godlessness they lay unbound. In rule of will they beauty found. She turned towards her new-made friend, and, forcing her worldview to bend, she offered him the gift of choice, for him to listen to her voice. And so, shrouded in careful trust, he left home to embrace her rust. 4. On far horizon he then found a fortress with coherence bound, where men and women like gears turned. In this dance of their god they learned, where reason always reigned supreme. They had no king and had no queen, just laws of God they need abide, as taught by prophets in loud pride. The young man gasped, for what he saw was nothing like he'd known as law. He'd always thought young they did kill, yet they had merely wills of steel, that so in knowledge widely grew, and made of chaos logic do. He saw so much he never dreamt. Shock to his heart a message sent. But time was up, that they both knew. They headed back with new taboos. 5. Next months pretending they both spend, as if no such event occurred. But after many sleepless nights, the Gnoph-Keh said, "this is not right. I can no longer like this do. And therefore I must ask, can you?" She closed her eyes and focused deep. "I hear them every night in sleep. They're beast-like screams, kids thrown as bait. I think, I want to meet this fate. The answer's no, and break the wheel. We just must for once and real." He moved his head with hope in eyes. His soul and words just simply wise. "Then let's together out there go, to tell the world of what we know." And so, though the two made no crime, they were now traitors of their time. 6. They went away so far and wide, but never once did they decide to turn their way back to their homes, even though they gave up their thrones. In alone time shared love they found, with no one but themselves around. In years alive they old did grow, still remembering years ago. But the world them remembered too, and warlords knew exactly who ran away in the past long gone, and in anger forth their swords drawn. They tried to run, they tried to hide. No one could understand their side. In mutual unbroken care, they still were for each other there. And even when darkness them took, not once did they regret their book. 7. But ages pass, and so do lives, and their love too abides, said rights. Hence millennia later too, none of the lovers still ensue. They both fought well, they both fought brave, but nature takes what it once gave. Pierced by flesh swords and vibrant spears, they faded into empty tears. So thanks to hate and thanks to time, the everlasting lay divine in crypts below an unchanged world, in loving arms so gently curled. No sound to hear, no light to see, a promise empty to be free, fulfilled in death and nothing more, as cogs and flesh wage final war. And there they lay, within the deep, until Ion wakes again from sleep.